You know, there's a peculiar irony in the spiritual world. People spend years meditating, reading sacred texts, attending retreats, doing the inner work, genuinely awakening to deeper truths about reality. And then they look at their bank account and wonder why the awakening didn't translate there. It's as if consciousness expanded in every direction except the one that pays rent. And before you think this is going to be another lecture about manifestation or abundance mindset or you just need to believe harder, let me tell you, it's far more interesting than that. Because the relationship between spiritual awakening and money reveals something profound about how we misunderstand both. Let me show you what I mean. Most spiritual teachings, if we're honest, have a complicated relationship with money. There's this underlying assumption, rarely stated directly but always present, that truly spiritual people shouldn't care about money. That desire for financial comfort is somehow less evolved than desire for enlightenment. You hear it in the language. Material world, earthly attachments, transcending the physical, as if money exists in some lower realm that awakened beings should have outgrown. And so people awaken to the nature of consciousness, to the interconnectedness of all things, to the illusion of the separate self, and then feel vaguely guilty for wanting to pay their bills without anxiety. They've transcended their identification with ego, but they haven't transcended their identification with poverty as spiritual purity. This is the first block, not a practical one, but a philosophical one. A confusion about what money actually is. Let me tell you about a woman I knew. Brilliant teacher, genuinely awake. She could guide you into states of consciousness that most people don't even have words for. Her retreats changed lives, and she charged almost nothing for them. When I asked her why, she said, "Spiritual wisdom shouldn't be commodified, it should be freely given." Beautiful sentiment. And completely unsustainable. Within 2 years, she was exhausted, resentful, and back working a job she hated to pay her bills. The retreat stopped. The teaching stopped. All that wisdom, all that genuine capacity to help people awaken, locked away because she couldn't reconcile spiritual truth with economic reality. Here's what she didn't see. Money is not the opposite of spirituality. Money is simply a form of energy exchange. It's how we, in this particular civilization, acknowledge value and enable the flow of resources. When you do something that genuinely serves others, whether that's teaching meditation or fixing plumbing, and you receive money for it, you're not corrupting the spiritual. You're participating in the circulation of energy that allows everyone to survive and thrive. The block isn't that money is unspiritual. The block is believing that receiving fair exchange for genuine value is somehow a betrayal of awakening. But there's something deeper here, something more subtle. When you awaken, you begin to see through the stories. The story of success, the story of achievement, the story of status. You recognize these as constructs, as collective agreements, as games the ego plays to feel significant. And this seeing is liberating, profoundly liberating. But here's what happens next, and this is crucial. Many people, in seeing through the stories, also stop participating in the practical structures that those stories created. They see that career success is a construct, so they stop building careers. They see that financial security is a story, so they stop creating financial security. They see that professional identity is an illusion, so they stop developing professional skills. They throw out the bath water and the baby and the entire bathtub. This is the second block, confusing seeing through the story with not needing to participate in the structure. Think about it this way. You can recognize that language is a construct. Just sounds we've agreed mean certain things, and still use language skillfully to communicate. You don't stop speaking just because you've seen through the arbitrary nature of words. The same is true for money. you can recognize that the entire economic system is a collective fiction, a story we're all telling together, and still participate in it skillfully, still learn its language, still understand its patterns, still play the game well enough to take care of yourself. Awakening doesn't mean you transcend the need to eat. It means you stop believing that eating defines your worth. Awakening doesn't mean you transcend the need for shelter. It means you stop believing that your house defines your identity. And awakening doesn't mean you transcend the need for money. It means you stop believing that money defines your value as a human being. But many spiritually awake people make a strange leap. They think if money doesn't define my value, then I shouldn't need to think about money at all. And then they wonder why they're broke. I want to tell you about another person. A man who spent a decade in monasteries, deep practice, genuine realization. He understood emptiness not as concept, but as lived experience. When he returned to ordinary life, he struggled terribly with money. Not because he was lazy or incompetent, but because he had trained himself for 10 years to not want anything, to not desire, to not grasp. And this training, which served him beautifully in the monastery, became a handicap in the marketplace. Because, here's the thing, creating value in the world, the kind of value that people pay for, requires a certain amount of desire. Not neurotic craving, but healthy creative desire. The desire to build something, to solve a problem, to offer something useful. When you've spent years training yourself to extinguish all desire, you also extinguish the creative impulse that generates economic value. This is the third block, mistaking the absence of neurotic craving for the absence of all creative desire. There's a difference, a profound difference, between being free from the desperate need for money and being free from any relationship with money at all. The first is liberation. The second is dissociation. When you're free from the desperate need for money, you can engage with it clearly. You can see opportunities. You can make decisions based on actual value rather than fear. You can create and offer and receive without the whole thing being tangled up in your sense of self-worth. But when you're dissociated from money entirely, when you've decided it's unspiritual to even think about it, you can't engage with it at all. You become passive, waiting for the universe to provide, hoping that if you're just spiritual enough, abundance will magically appear. And sometimes it does, but usually it doesn't. Because the universe doesn't have a bank account. Other humans do, and other humans pay for things they perceive as valuable. If you're not offering clear value in a form people recognize and can access, no amount of spiritual awakening will pay your rent. Now I can hear the objection forming. But what about trust? What about surrender? What about letting go and allowing life to unfold? And here's what I want to say about that. Surrender is not passivity. Trust is not abdication of responsibility. Letting go is not the same as checking out. Real surrender is active. It's engaging fully with life while not being attached to specific outcomes. It's doing your absolute best and then releasing your grip on the results. But many people confuse surrender with not trying. They confuse trust with not planning. They confuse letting go with not showing up. They say, I'm surrendering my financial situation to the universe, when what they really mean is, I'm avoiding the uncomfortable work of learning how money actually works and developing skills that create economic value. This is the fourth block, using spiritual concepts as sophisticated avoidance mechanisms. Let me be very clear here. I'm not saying you need to become obsessed with money. I'm not saying you need to sacrifice your values or your peace or your integrity to accumulate wealth. I'm saying something much simpler. Awakening to spiritual truth doesn't exempt you from practical reality. You still have a body that needs food. You still live in a society that runs on economic exchange. You still benefit from having resources that give you choices and freedom and the ability to help others. Pretending otherwise isn't spiritual. It's just impractical. And here's the deeper truth. When you're constantly stressed about money, when you're always in survival mode, when you're working jobs you hate just to barely get by, that actually makes spiritual practice harder, not easier. Yes, some people awaken through poverty, through having everything stripped away, but for most people, chronic financial stress is just chronic stress. It keeps you in fight or flight. It narrows your awareness. It makes it harder to be present, to be generous, to be available to the deeper dimensions of existence. Financial stability isn't the goal of spiritual life, but it can be a support for spiritual life. A foundation that allows you to practice and serve and explore without the constant background noise of survival anxiety. There's one more block I want to talk about, the subtlest one, the one that even very awake people often don't see. When you awaken, you begin to perceive reality as it is, beneath the stories. You see that most of what people worry about doesn't actually matter. You see that most of what people chase won't actually fulfill them. You see the emptiness at the heart of conventional success. And this seeing can create a kind of disengagement, not intentional but natural. You're just not motivated by the same things anymore. The carrots that make other people run, status, recognition, achievement, more, they don't work on you. And in a marketplace that largely runs on those motivations, this puts you at a disadvantage. The ambitious person who desperately wants to prove themselves will often out-hustle you. The person who needs external validation will often out-market you. The person who's running from their emptiness will often outproduce you. Not because they're better, but because they're more driven by fear and desire. And fear and desire, whatever else you can say about them, are powerful motivators. So you, in your awakened clarity, watch them succeed financially while you struggle. And you might tell yourself, well, I'm just not attached to material success. And that might be true, but it might also be that you haven't found the motivation that works for you now. The motivation that doesn't come from fear or ego, but from something deeper. This is the fifth block, losing the old motivations without discovering the new ones. So what are the new motivations? What drives action when you're no longer driven by fear or ego or the need to prove yourself? Service, creativity, play, love. When you're no longer trying to fill an inner emptiness with external success, you're free to create for the joy of creating, to serve for the satisfaction of being useful, to work as a form of play, as an expression of your unique way of engaging with the world. And here's the interesting thing. When you create from that place, you often create things of genuine value, things that actually help people, things that people are willing to pay for, not because you're trying to make money, but because you're offering something real. The marketplace, for all its distortions and illusions, does have a way of recognizing genuine value, not always immediately, not always fairly, but eventually, consistently, real value finds its audience. The question is, are you creating real value, or are you so busy being spiritual that you've stopped creating anything at all? I knew a man who was a gifted healer, truly gifted. He could work with energy in ways that produced tangible results. People left his sessions feeling fundamentally different, but he struggled financially for years. And when I watched him work, I understood why. He had no system, no consistency, no way for people to find him or book him or know what to expect. He would see people when the spirit moved him. He would charge whatever felt right in the moment, which was usually almost nothing. He had no website, no schedule, no clear offering. He thought all of that, the systems, the marketing, the structure, was too commercial, too ego-driven, too unspiritual. What he didn't see was that those structures aren't about ego. They're about accessibility. They're about making it easy for people who need help to find and receive that help. His lack of structure wasn't spiritual purity. It was a barrier between his gift and the people who needed it. When he finally, reluctantly, created some basic systems, a simple website, a booking calendar, a clear pricing structure, his income tripled within 6 months. Not because he became more skilled, but because he became more accessible. The gift was always there. He just stopped hiding it behind the idea that structure was unspiritual. Here's what I'm really saying beneath all of this. Spiritual awakening is about seeing through illusions, about recognizing what's real beneath the stories, about living from presence rather than from the conditioned patterns of ego. But money is not an illusion in the same way that ego is an illusion. Money is a tool, a technology, a system of exchange that allows complex societies to function. You can see through the illusion that money equals worth while still understanding that money enables choices. You can transcend identification with wealth while still creating wealth. You can be free from the need for financial validation while still being financially responsible. These are not contradictions, they're integrations. The truly awakened life is not about rejecting the material world. It's about engaging with the material world without being enslaved by it. It's about playing the game skillfully without believing the game is all there is. And yes, that includes the money game. So what does this actually look like in practice? It looks like developing skills that serve others and being willing to receive fair compensation for that service. It looks like understanding that your time and energy have value, and that honoring that value is not ego, it's sustainability. It looks like learning how money actually works, how to earn it, save it, invest it, use it wisely. Not because money is the goal, but because financial literacy is a form of self-care in a society that runs on economic exchange. It looks like being willing to market yourself, to make your gifts visible, to let people know what you offer, not from desperation or ego, but from the simple recognition that people can't benefit from what they don't know exists. It looks like creating systems and structures that make your work accessible and sustainable, even if that feels too businesslike for your spiritual self-image. It looks like being honest about your relationship with money, noticing where you're using spiritual concepts to avoid practical responsibility, noticing where you're confusing poverty with purity. And it looks like finding the motivation that works for you now, not the fear-based motivation of the ego, but the love-based motivation of genuine service and creative expression. There's a Zen saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The tasks don't change. What changes is your relationship to them. Before awakening, you chop wood to prove yourself, to get ahead, to fill the emptiness. After awakening, you chop wood because wood needs chopping, because it's useful, because it's your particular way of participating in the dance of life. The same is true for money. Before awakening, you pursue money to validate yourself, to feel secure, to prove your worth. After awakening, you engage with money because it's a practical tool that enables you to live and serve and create. The activity looks similar from the outside, but the inner experience is completely different. And that inner difference, that freedom from identification, actually makes you more effective, not less, because you're no longer paralyzed by fear or driven by compulsion. You can see clearly, you can act appropriately. You can engage with the practical world without being consumed by it. So give yourself permission to be spiritually awake and financially stable, permission to see through the illusion of money as identity while still understanding money as tool, permission to serve from the heart and receive fair compensation for that service. You're not betraying your awakening by learning how to create economic value. You're not selling out by developing practical skills. You're not becoming less spiritual by having a functional relationship with money. You're becoming more integrated, more whole. more capable of actually living your realization in the world as it is, not in some imagined world where awakened beings are magically exempt from economic reality. The bills still need to be paid, the body still needs to be fed, the work still needs to be done. The only question is, will you do it from consciousness or from avoidance, from clarity or from confusion, from integration or from dissociation? Because the truly spiritual life is not about transcending the practical. It's about bringing consciousness into the practical. It's about doing ordinary things with extraordinary presence. And that includes money. So, stop using your awakening as an excuse for financial dysfunction. Stop hiding behind spiritual concepts to avoid practical responsibility. Stop confusing poverty with purity. Wake up to money the same way you woke up to everything else. See it clearly. Understand it honestly. Engage with it skillfully. And then watch what becomes possible when you're no longer at war with one of the basic tools of human civilization. The freedom you're seeking isn't on the other side of rejecting money. It's on the other side of integrating money into your awakened life, not as master, not as meaning, but as what it actually is, a tool that, used wisely, can support everything else you're here to do.